Greetings, Zimbabwe. Welcome to the program Power Talk. My name is Sean Moyo, and today our guest is Senator Morgan Komichi. Senator Komichi is a very familiar face. He needs no introduction, but we just introduce for the sake of our courtesy. Senator Komichi is a veteran opposition player, and he is currently the interim president of MDC Tsvangirai. Senator Komichi, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I would like to greet all the listeners at the moment. I'm happy to be with you today.
Right. Getting straight into it, Senator, can you please tell us a bit about MDC Tsvangirai? It's a very, very familiar name, but it seems there are two MDCs as we currently have on the political space in Zimbabwe. We know the MDC led by Douglas Mwonzora. And so you say you are the interim president, so please explain to Zimbabwe what's going on.
Thank you so much, listeners. And let me take this opportunity to clarify the difference between MDC Tsvangirai and MDC. Senator Douglas Mwonzora is the president of MDC, supported by his constitution, which he has. I am the interim president of MDC Tsvangirai, which is a different organization altogether. It has got its own constitution as well. This situation is not abnormal in Zimbabwe. In 1980, Zanu Pf went to election with two Zanu Pfs on the ballot paper. There was Zanu Pf led by Robert Mugabe. There was Zanu led by Ndabaningi Stole. This situation or scenario has been in existence for the last 46 years. So there's nothing abnormal with what we have today. MDC Tsvangirai, it's a prefix. MDC has no prefix, has no suffix, has no prefix. So this is two different organizations altogether. Even during President Morgan Tsvangirai's time, ran the politics of Zimbabwe with several MDCs, such as MDC 99, MDC N, MDC M, MDC T. Those were various names that were all emanating from MDC. But that did not affect the performance of President Morgan Tsvangirai. So today we are in the same scenario. There's nothing new. And again, the MDC dominant color is red, whilst the MDC Tsvangirai dominant color is purple. So the difference is very fundamental and very clear.
So can we say you formed a new party?
Having been in MDC since its inception, with so many other leaders, starting as the provincial chairman of North Province in 2000, and got elevated to the position of the vice president of MDC. My DNA is MDC Tsvangirai. So this is not a new party as such. It has only been formalized. It has been formalized. Now it has a constitution, it has leadership, and is working with the people on the ground. So we can't say it's a new party. Just like someone would say, if someone would come and say it's now MDCN, you can't say it's a new party. Someone would come and say MDC 99, you can't say it's a new party. Someone would say MDCA, it's not a new party. We have regrouped as the people with the same agenda, a common vision, which is different from what Douglas Mwonzora is spearheading. So it's not a new party, but it's been reconstituted and formalized, and we are going on fighting for change in Zimbabwe using MDC Tsvangirai.
Perhaps you can also clarify to Zimbabwe as to what led to the fallout between you and Senator Mwonzora, because at one point you were very, very close, you worked together very, very well, even at the point of the split of the MDC resulting in the formation of the CCC. You were on one side with Senator Mwonzora. So what led to this fallout?
Thank you so much. What led to the fallout was the vision, change of vision, change of strategy, change of approach to opposition politics, reintroduction of new opposition theory of politics, which we didn't agree. Remember, from 2020, MDC under Mwonzora became so close to Zanu Pf in character, in behavior, body language, in communication. For an example, remember MDC under Mwonzora voted with Zanu Pf in the amendment number 2, basically purporting to extend the term limit for the Chief Justice. I voted against it.
But you were part of the MDC senatorial team then?
Yes, I voted against it.
So you went against the party?
Yes, actually, I was the only member of parliament who actually voted against it. And officials of parliament actually exposed my name on the parliament monitors. You know there are monitors in the parliament.
Right.
My name was written that Senator Komichi has voted against the amendment. I was the only one who was exposed.
What was the reason for that exposure?
Because I'm not Zanu Pf. I don't believe in collaborating with Zanu Pf on issues that affect the people of Zimbabwe. The amendment affected the rights and the political rights of the people of Zimbabwe, and I could not stand with it. So I opposed it.
So essentially, we could say you are in a way accusing your colleagues then of being in collaboration with, and so you could say almost perhaps captured by Zanu Pf.
I was very much disappointed, not only by that. The visit to the State House, I was against it also. I did not approve that. I did not agree with it, but the then leadership in charge of the party went on to visit the president without the mandate of the people. He was supposed to have sorted the mandate of the public if he was to go and see the president of the country. I did not also agree with issues such as going all the way to Vic Falls for a COVID injection without the mandate of the people. I did also not agree with the collaboration of MDC with Zanu Pf over state events. I did not agree with that. If you check on record, I never attended any one of them. And I made it official in one of our meetings and said, you guys, why do you behave like Zanu Pf? We're an opposition entity. We must always act like an opposition. If we want to go and celebrate events like independence, events like Heroes Day, we must do it on our own as opposition. Why don't we organize the opposition movement and celebrate the independence? Why don't you organize the opposition movement and celebrate the Heroes Day? Why do you go and kiss and hug and dine with Zanu Pf? What would the people say when they look at you? And I told them, if ever you're going to receive a letter from Mnangagwa inviting you to these state events, please don't phone me. I'm not Zanu Pf. I made that position very clearly and very official. So those were accumulative in nature. And I then realized that, I'm on the wrong path. And on the 14th of June 2023, I addressed the press conference at the media center and announced the split. From there, we then worked up until the 12th of August 2023, a meeting was held here in Harare, which announced and pronounced the existence of the MDC Tsvangirai part, and the leadership was constituted in the interim capacity. So we've been working as this for the last two years now.
Right. So that was before the August 2023 elections.
Yes.
How come your party did not field any candidate and you did not run so far in the election?
We're not yet capacitated.
Right.
We're not yet capacitated, so we do not want to waste people's time. We are building. The next election, 2028, we will be on the ballot paper.
Right. But someone would say, or ask perhaps a question that what is wrong with an opposition party attending national events? If you look at independence celebrations or Heroes Day celebrations, these are, they may appear as Zanu-PF perhaps because of the monopoly on power by the ruling party, but these essentially are supposed to be national events that do not contain people within party structures. What exactly would be wrong with that, and why would Douglas Mwonzora attending those be so wrong?
That's an ideal situation. The Heroes Day and Independence Day are Zanu Pf platforms where supporters will come putting on regalia.
Right.
And slogans will be chanted on that one.
Right.
They'll be promoting the image of Zanu Pf. I don't say I'm against the independence. I'm just one of the people who would very much honor and respect the independence of Zimbabwe. I'm one of the person who's got this heart feeling and support and belief in the job that was done by the war veterans of Zimbabwe. I was actually one of the very senior Mjibas during my time. I collaborated with the Zanla forces in Chiwi and Bikita, and I was one of the most active Mjibas of the time, and I know and I believe in our liberation struggle. But Zanu Pf has no capacity to make these events national. Zanu Pf always good at making those events Zanu Pf activities. So I've been always advising and calling for opposition movements to meet on their own and celebrate the Heroes Day. The opposition parties must meet on their own and celebrate the Independence Day, so that we'll be able to talk and raise issues that affect the people of Zimbabwe, whether the independence that we fought for is being honored or respected by the government. When we have our Heroes Day, you must be in a position to say, are the heroes that fought for this country being respected? Do they get the benefits that they were promised? You can't say that when Zanu Pf is in charge at the Heroes Acre. You can't say that when Zanu Pf is in charge in Baba Fields. So you can't do that. So you will be just there collaborating, endorsing, and dining with Zanu Pf. That is exactly one of the major issues why I had to part away with Comrade Mwonzora, because he lost the vision that was planted by Tsvangirai during his time, the vision that was driving the opposition mantra in this country. The opposition must checkmate the ruling party. The opposition must question the behavior, the character, the movements of the ruling party. So when you dine with Zanu Pf, there's no way you can checkmate them. You would rather smile or grab them, hug them, and trying to make them feel that doing well. So that was no longer opposition as far as I'm concerned. So we had to move on, move away, and we are reconstructing, re-establishing a genuine opposition party, which is Tsvangirai. With the legacy of Tsvangirai, we want to take from where Tsvangirai left and do better than what our old men did, so that we can finally bring change in Zimbabwe. We can finally bring the freedom that we are missing in this country.
But are you not afraid of court action? I remember what led to the CCC being formed, because it was a part of the MDC, or it was the MDC essentially, was that there was legal action that took place, resulting in them leaving. So are you not afraid that Senator Mwonzora and his party will take you to court and perhaps win that lawsuit?
The opposition movement will never be affected by the court decision whatsoever. I remember in 1980, Ndabaningi Stole took Zanu Mugabe to the High Court and claimed the name. And the High Court gave the name Zanu to Ndabaningi Stole. Mugabe and his team just put a prefix, a suffix on Zanu. And he went to the people. And within 2 weeks' time, the whole of Zimbabwe had already known that Zanu Ekavakuondo is now called Zanu Pf. Tsvangirai had a similar challenge with Prof. Ngwe in 2005, where there were people would not know which MDC to follow. And Tsvangirai introduced the T on the MDC. And within a few weeks, the whole country knew Tsvangirai was in charge of MDC T. We went to election, he won, and it was 2008, he actually won the elections. So the court decision will not really affect. So whatever the court decision would do, well, by the way, we're already in court. Mwonzora took me to court about this.
Okay.
And we're waiting for the court date, and the judgment will be passed. But that will not that will not destroy the opposition spirit. That will not destroy what we're already building now. We're building the spirit of the opposition, and no one will destroy that. No court, no law will destroy the spirit of the opposition. So we are going to fight on, make sure that positive change and real change is going to be brought to Zimbabwe through what we're going to set under MDC Tsvangirai. So I'm not afraid of the courts, by the way. I'm not afraid of them. I'm a jailbird. I've been to court committing real crimes, but and sentenced and jailed and tortured. I'm not afraid about it. So this one is, to me, is like a civil court. I'm not afraid about it. So I've got facts to defend myself. We are going to meet in court, and I'll defend the name MDC Tsvangirai.
Right, but doesn't this seem to be a perennial situation whereby if one section of the MDC splits, they start accusing each other of being pro-Zanu Pf or being captured by Zanu Pf? Like in this particular case that you're doing, we've seen it over the years where one section says the other section is captured, they are CIO, they are Zanu Pf. Are you not seeing the same song that has always been happening, and are you just being political about it? And do you actually believe that, or it's just a political song you're singing?
It's not a political song. Character, body language. I've already gave you examples of real issues that I was concerned with. I will not be concerned by being called a CIO, called Mutenges. I'm not concerned about that. That's rhetoric. That is what people say. If they want to destroy your character, they would use the name Urim CIO, you have been bought by money. That's rhetoric. But when I say MDC voted with Zanu Pf in parliament, that is factual.
True.
When I'm saying so and so went to the State House and have a cup of tea and a drink with Mnangagwa at the State House, that's factual. When I say someone went to the Heroes Acre and hugged with the Zanu Pf officials and they were seen on television, that's factual. When I see someone went to Vic Falls for a COVID injection and addressed Zanu Pf gathering, that's factual. You can only do those things after getting the mandate of the people.
Right.
You get the mandate of the people nationwide, then you go there as a messenger after people have assigned you to do that. But not you as a leader to do it without consulting the people of Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe will have the right to label you a sellout. They will have the right to label you a Zanu Pf sympathizer. And this is what we must guard against. And this is what I'm saying I don't want. I'll be lying to the people if I, behind the curtain, seeing Zanu Pf and then fail to represent the people of Zimbabwe. If you're in that situation, you are compromised. Check our records as MDC during that time. Did we ever stand up in any forum, rally, or any media house where we challenged Zanu Pf openly? We did not. Why were we doing it? Because something was happening behind. This is what made us live. This is what made me and other leaders, such as Moses Nyambala and many other people like Comrade Mzuri and so forth, decided to leave this assembly and said, we don't want to bother you, we don't want to disturb you, go ahead with your MDC. We are going to be going ahead with our MDC Tsvangirai. We don't want to disturb you. You can have your meetings and your rallies. We will not even come there.
But at what point, Senator, did you discover this alleged collaboration between the other sections?
You don't see a thing today and move away.
Right.
You see a thing and advise. I had several meetings in which I sat down with the president then, Mwonzora, on one-on-one, and gave him a scenario of what I saw since 2003 happening to MDC, to then up to 2018. I gave him an example. Then I said, you are the 5th victim of Zanu Pf if you're not careful. These other fellas were victims of Zanu Pf's manipulation if you're not careful. So please don't do that. In a meeting, I addressed them. If you receive a letter from Mnangagwa inviting you to the state events, please don't phone me because I'm not Zanu Pf. Those were my words. In a standing committee meeting. So you need to be normal. You take time trying to advise. But it then comes to a point when you then make a decision and said, if I am to continue with this route, I'll be betraying the people of Zimbabwe. Let me make a decision and move away. And I made a decision, and I made it public on the 14th of June, 2023, that I am splitting with Mwonzora, and you cannot continue to be this way. Mwonzora should be able to change, to reconnect with the people of Zimbabwe, to make sure that the perception that people of Zimbabwe have on him is cleared.
But if you want to speak to Senator Mwonzora or people in his party, they would say this is just sour grapes, because until the last Congress, you actually meant to participate in the Congress. You wanted to campaign, I believe you wanted to run for the position of Vice President, but then you were not able to, for one reason or other. So they would probably say this is just sour grapes, so you split from the party because you could not gain sufficient capacity to win the Vice Presidency. What would you say about that?
It is actually untrue. When people were preparing for the Congress, I was the chairman.
Right.
And I was in charge of the Committee of Elections Directorate, which is in charge of Congress preparations.
Right.
I made it very clear in that meeting. I will not participate in the elections in this Congress. I will not participate. So don't consider me. I made it very clear.
So you ran the meeting, but you didn't participate?
Yes, of course. I said I will not participate. It's there, it's recorded. If people want to be fair with me in my character, I made it very clear, because I was seeing the shambolic nature of the leadership and the vision of the party.
Right.
And I was already preparing myself to disconnect and disengage with them peacefully. When it came to the bogus National Council, which was held, I actually announced, because I was again in charge, as the chair, actually announced, please don't consider me in this process. I'm just chairing. I'm not interested in becoming the chair of this political party.
Okay.
And I supervised everything. I went through everything that, and went to the Congress venue. I did the same thing again. I'm not going to be part of the election leadership. I'm handing over this election process to the what they call it, and as the chairman, you will not run through. You then give it to the committee in charge.
Right.
And I did that peacefully, because I didn't want to cause any noise. And I had already made my mind not to go further with this shambolic leadership. And when people then talk and say those are sour grapes, I could not be having sour grapes for a part that I pronounced and told the world. Remember the video, the audio, yes, which went viral. Yes. It's there on the YouTube. You can open it. Where I said, people have rejected MDC. They've rejected us. Something is wrong that we are doing. And I acknowledged that. That was in 2022 piloting.
Right.
So you cannot then say those were sour grapes. I couldn't be having sour grapes over a failed project. So we are trying to revive the project, put it back to the original status of a vibrant opposition movement. That's why I'm here.
Let's talk about the finances of the MDC when you were there after the split with the CCC. There was a lot of rumor about the top leadership, that is Senator Mwonzora, yourself as the chairperson, and then Vice President Kupe, that there was financial abuse of the Political Parties Finance Act and other monies that were due to the party. Are you able to shed light on that?
Thank you. Thank you.
Your position on it.
Thank you so much. The money that was coming from the government, just the government grant, was or is always the party finance,
right,
to run the projects or the programs of the party.
Right.
When President Tsvangirai was still in charge, a gentleman's agreement was reached because of his illness. The state health, his health status, which was deteriorating, and being an unemployed guy with no source of income. A gentleman's agreement was reached to then give him a 20%. There are no official records that 20% will be given to a president, because it was only 20% targeted at assisting President Tsvangirai because of his health.
Right.
And we all agreed as the National Council and the leadership of the party. He went on. Nelson came in. Nelson, yes, the first tranche of the government grant, he got it.
Right.
And we were already going towards elections. I was the chair of the party in charge of the elections as well. I ran short of money to campaign. And I said to Nelson, President, my campaign is running short of funds. He was able to discharge some of those monies to the campaign program.
Right.
And when the second government grant came, he refused to take it.
He refused the money.
Yes. He challenged all of us to say, show me where it is written that the president will get 20%. That's the truth. He challenged Secretary General, the former Secretary General was Mwonzora to produce the record. There was no record. He challenged the then Secretary General, which was, what to call it? Wende. And he said, I will not give you. I will not take it. He challenged us to an extent of saying, if you want this debate to go ahead, let's go and introduce it in the National Council. Madam Coupe took it, the first one, but as soon as she became Member of Parliament, she stopped it. She refused to take it. But when the regime of Mwonzora came, he religiously took the 20%. That is where people raise issues of financial mismanagement during his tenure.
Right.
And we demanded for records, financial records in the standing committee. We never got them. There were excuses and excuses. There were no financial records. Part programs were not funded. Nothing tangible can be put on the table that the money that will sit from the capital grant bought this small vehicle or bought this small bicycle. Nothing. So those are some of the allegations which pushed some of us to leave and say, is this what we were born to do? Is this what we're supposed to do as opposition members? And those were some of the things that separated us from his leadership. So it's right now we are determined to reprogram, reestablish a real, a genuine opposition movement to fight Zanu Pf, to hold Zanu Pf accountable. That's what we want to do.
Right. And do you think it is possible for you and the MDC Tsvangirai to go it alone and win a national election so as to take over power from Zanu Pf? Like, are you even in 2028 in any capacity nationally to actually win a national election, or there would need to be collaboration and perhaps closing ranks of the opposition? Is there need for opposition unity, or you think every party should go it alone as it currently stands?
Let me share with you a small concept here. The people of Zimbabwe, for example, they are divided into two blocks.
Right.
The first block is the opposition fraternity.
Yes.
The second block is Zanu Pf block. So Zanu Pf will maintain its block.
Right.
Suppose it's composed of 2 million people. They will maintain it. Got an election, they'll get 2 million. Let's say the opposition is 2.5 million, because we are the majority anyway. We are 2.5 million. And in the opposition fraternity, we are 10 political parties. Ideally, you divide 10 into 2.5 million. Already opposition has lost elections.
Right.
So any leader with a basic sense of knowledge, with the basic mathematics, should be able to appreciate that going it alone to 2028 is not an achievable project. It's naive and frivolous for any opposition leader to think that he can do it alone. Even if out of the 2.5 million, even if you get 1.8 million, you are still below Zanu Pf to 2 million.
Right.
So the numbers of a political parties are insignificant in this matter, because our elections are based on 50% plus one vote.
Right.
Probably my vote as Morgan Komichi would be the plus one part of it for you to become a president of the country. So I have value in this process.
Right.
So we need to appreciate that unity for the opposition political parties is actually the MDC Tsvangirai's main agenda. Unification of the opposition political parties and unification of all opposition cadres to come together and establish a strong and a formidable opposition movement to confront Zanu Pf hold on and defeat it in the next election is our number one priority areas in MDC Tsvangirai.
Right.
A restoration of the values of the opposition movement is our second value, second agenda. A revival of the democratic struggle where we stand up and challenge Zanu Pf in the street, in the villages, in the mountains, in the trees, in the air is our third value. And we want to see that regurgitated by MDC Tsvangirai. We are here to establishing the opposition movement, which we had during Morgan Tsvangirai's time, that's what we're going to do. This I can bet you will achieve it.
Right. But looking at the fractured nature of the opposition, your MDC Tsvangirai, there is the MDC of Senator Mwonzora, then Nelson Chamisa is yet to
several triple Cs.
There are many factions of the opposition, and all basically are all the MDC, if you really want to look at it. The original MDC split into now MDC Tsvangirai, MDC of Mwonzora, the triple C, Nelson Chamisa's Blue Movement, Washman Nzube's triple C, Chabangu's triple C. So with this kind of division within basically what you could almost say is one party, what is the chance of you coming together with all your former colleagues or colleagues as it were to form a united front so you can confront the ruling party in 2028?
Thank you so much. Actually, I've been preaching, writing, and sharing this idea of unity with many media houses in Zimbabwe. And even if you go to my blogs, Twitter, and Facebook, and many others, social media, that is WhatsApp, I've been one of the key authors of the unity of the opposition movement. And I'm very passionate about it. I'm not faking. I'm not doing it for personal gains. I'm not doing it to please anyone. But I want to please the people of Zimbabwe. I strongly believe that if we become united, all these people with the MDC DNA, these people that all were born out of Tsvangirai's leadership, if we come together and establish a strong and a formidable organization, I can guarantee you Zanu Pf is going to lose the election in 2028. So I believe in it. So that's why I was saying one of the key result areas of MDC Tsvangirai is the first one is the unification of all opposition cadres, then followed by the restoration of the mass democratic values and the revival of the spirit to challenge Zanu Pf in the public forum. This is why I'm very attached to that vision, and probably today let me get this opportunity, my brother, to propose to the opposition fraternity in Zimbabwe to consider the formation of an organization called Mass Democratic Movement. This Mass Democratic Movement will be an umbrella for all opposite parties to come together, so that we have the same voice, same vision, same platform to defend the people of Zimbabwe, to represent the issues that affect Banabe Zimbabwe, to fight for the economic decay that is taking place in this country for the Zimbabweans to benefit, to fight for the political rights that are being abused by Zanu Pf Takataris. We need to defend the Zimbabwe constitution, which is being mutilated before us today. And we can achieve this goal, ladies and gentlemen, if we agree to come up under one umbrella, which I'm suggesting, mass democratic movement, which is not MDC Tsvangirai, which is not MDC, which is not CCC, which is not NWG, but is an umbrella to put us together so that we work from one point, one angle, and be able to attack Zanu Pf from an angle that will be fatal to Zanu Pf. So I want to suggest, this is my commitment to unity. This is my commitment to an alliance. This is my commitment to the common agenda for this country.
We could almost say we saw a bit of that unity during the time that the late Tsvangirai, before he passed away, when he came up with the concept of the MDC Alliance, and you were a very important member of that process. Maybe you can take us through briefly, just through the steps of how the MDC Alliance came about to be from the inception up to the point where it actually came into life.
Let's give the credit to President Tsvangirai. Credit to him. Tsvangirai was a true Democrat. Anyone would come with a good idea to him. But the talent which Tsvangirai had, he had the capacity to put the face on your idea. And you would take your idea and fight.
Is his own idea.
Is his own idea. That was the one thing which many leaders will fail. Ideas come from different people. I've always given a biblical example of Jesus. Jesus would put the face on the work that was done by his disciples, Paul and others. He had that capacity. He was talented. The Bible that we read today is about Jesus. But Jesus never wrote even a single verse. The verses were written by the disciples. But today we talk of Jesus. That leadership is what we want. So the MDC Alliance did not necessarily come from Tsvangirai himself.
Okay.
There were people within the party who proposed that, who worked very hard on it for it to come. Some of the people that I can freely share here is Comrade Timba, Comrade Komichi himself, Comrade Ian Makoni, the late Dennis Murira, who were the founders of the MDC Alliance. He then took us and tasked us to work on it, from concept to actualization. And I was given the mandate by the president to lead it. And I crisscrossed the country. I met with bishops in this country. I met with ambassadors, European ambassadors, the British embassy, the American embassy, Australian embassy. I met with them, selling the idea of the MDC Alliance. But at the end of the day, the president put his face on it, and the whole nation supported it. So we did it before. We can do it now. We can meet and assemble as all political parties under an organization, which I'm proposing is the mass democratic movement, where people can change their name if they so wish, but the idea cannot be betrayed. The idea cannot be, undermined. Because the truth of the matter, if we go to election with one political party, no matter how popular it is, but because there will be other political parties that will subtract from the 2.5 million, we will not be able to achieve the 2.1 million to defeat Zanu Pf. And if we do it, and if we go to election till divided as we are today, we will have betrayed the people of Zimbabwe. And the people of Zimbabwe, through the Lord, must strike us and bear us into the we are useless. We need to consider this, that we are here as Tsvangirai in this leadership for the people of Zimbabwe. A few days ago, I was in Budiriro. I was in Mabvuku. I was in Warren Park. observing and seeing how the people of Zimbabwe are living in this dire economic situation. And if you're a normal person, you shed tears. Because the women that you see, they get a passport shed selling tomatoes. You can count the tomatoes, there will be 20 or so. And how much money does that woman get to take care of his children, her children, to send her children to school, to feed the family because of lack of employment? I've met young people who are now petrol attendants, people who are selling airtime in the street, and they show me their degrees and say, Baba, if you can get a job for me, please help me. I'm selling gas here, but I'm a degreed person. That young man touched my heart, and I'm almost crying. And these are the nitty-gritties of the difficulties which our people are meeting. You look at the Kombis and the Mshika-shika. Those boys, they appear as if they are mad.
But they're normal people.
They're normal people who are trying to chase a dollar so that they can go and feed their wives and children. Do you know those Mshika-shikas are taking care of the families in Harare, in Bulawayo, in Chitungwiza, in Mutare, in Mashi? Do you know those Kombis that you see as if the drivers are mad? They are taking care of the lives of the people of Zimbabwe. If we were to stop those Mukombis and stop those Mshika-shika today, there will be deaths and deaths of the people in the whole of Zimbabwe. People who die because of the abject poverty. That's the extent at which the economy has gone bad. If you go in the hospitals today and you see a functioning bed, you say God is there. You take a patient in Parenyatwa today, in Mpilo Hospital today, in Salem Gabi Hospital today, you will be responsible for everything that is required to take care of that particular patient. From aspirin, from cotton, from a mere bandage. The hospitals are empty. They are dilapidated. They are actually death traps. And that's the economy that this country is presiding over. If you get out of the town today and try to take a small road into Mbare, there are potholes and potholes. Those are undrivable, and people have no hope that there will be a future where the roads in the high density and low density areas are going to be repaired. And as opposition, we are looking at this. This country has no money at all, no currency. The so-called ZIG is unwanted, unpopular. No one wants it. Including the government itself doesn't want the ZIG itself. That's why they've made it sure that no one is going to use a ZIG in buying fuel, diesel. No one is going to use a ZIG to get a passport. Because the government itself hates the ZIG, which they are forcing it through our throat. They want us to swallow the ZIG, which they don't want. Look at what has happened to the shops today. The OKs are no longer restocking. Many shelves are full of water and tissues and those other things. And we don't want that kind of economy to go unchecked. Food World is closed down. The N. Richard is closed down. Okay, it's closed some of the shops. And this is nose diving into 2007 economic quagmire we experienced. Very soon Zimbabwe will have no food on the shelves. People should be prepared to go to Mozambique, South Africa, Zambia, and Malawi to go and get food. Because Zimbabwe is nose diving. The economy is dying. And the opposition is seated and is doing nothing. No one is talking. No one is raising his head. And the people are victims. What do you want us to do? We cannot accept that. So the opposition has got to be forced by the powers above me to unite. Not tomorrow, but today. So that we form a very strong opposition movement which will be able to hold Zanu Pf accountable and challenged.
Senator, there's been talk by people on the street generally looking at the performance of the opposition where you have had power, right? Basically, the councils have been run by the MDC in its various formations, whether it was the CCC or MDC Alliance or MDC T. But basically, since the turn of the millennium, the MDC has been running the urban councils.
Yes.
And their performance hasn't really been up to scratch.
Yes, of course.
So the people of Zimbabwe looking at that, how do they put faith in you as the opposition that you are able to run an entire economy when your party, basically, I would say, has not been able to prove it by running the smaller version of the government, which is the local councils? How do you reconcile that failure to run councils into wanting to run a national economy?
I'm not defending the councils, but let me share the facts that are there.
Right.
From 2000, when we established the first council in Zimbabwe, when the other mayor was Elias Mzuri and many others, Vanandaveni in Blawan, Zanu Pf deliberately started a program of sabotaging the local councils ran by opposition. The Zanu Pf, the council is not completely an independent entity. The council is a portion of the local government ministry, which therefore means above the mayor, there is a minister of local government with the executive powers to deal with the mayor. When we started the council government, we had actual executive mayors. We wanted them to have the power and authority to decide decisions within the council. And look at what happened in our first council. There was development. There was growth. It was tangible. Roads were being made. But what did the Zanu Pf government do? They started firing Vanandaveni, firing on Amuzuri, firing the entire mayor, firing them because they were jealous of the success of the opposition. So Zanu Pf cannot be exempted from this long-term strategy which they had. So they withdrew some of the financial incomes of the council, such as water. They started creating Zinoa, started taking even vehicle taxes, taking them away, so that the councils will be left financially unsupported.
Right.
Their political agenda was to make the people of Zimbabwe hate the opposition councils. That's the major reason why the council of this country collapsed. Zanu Pf deliberately planned. The ministers of local government who were there by that time, who were tasked by the Zanu Pf Politburo to ensure that the councils were not going to succeed.
Right.
And the councils collapsed. Remember Zinara, roads, everything else.
Right.
Because, the council will get money from Zinara when Zinara wants. But the council has no say. That's the part of Zanu Pf. Yes, our councillors became also corrupt.
Right.
Selling stands, selling waterlogged wetlands and so forth. That was not right. And corruption was rampant in the councils. I don't want to defend them. That was wrong. And that should be we must work out in the program to make sure that that should not take place. Corruption is an evil. We must fight it. But all in all, we want Zanu Pf to go. Baggage must go. So that we established a more organized government which will provide the governance for the people of Zimbabwe. Not the governance for a few corrupt individuals. We don't want that. We want to put a government that recognizes the wishes and ideals of the people of Zimbabwe. And the Zanu Pf for the last 46 years has failed. When we even went into the journey, we wanted to be in charge of the Ministry of Local Government. Zanu Pf vehemently refused because they knew the opposition was going to show its true colors if the minister was going to be local government. It was going to be an MDC. They refused. Even in parliament, the opposition is never allowed to take charge of the local government committee. In one meeting that I attended, we wanted to grab the local government committee to our side, and some senior Zanu Pf official had to phone the president 3 more meetings.
Wow.
And the president said, no, don't give MDC to that particular committee, because the agenda is to sabotage the local government councils which are run by opposition party. So you cannot judge us in terms of performance in local government as people who have been competent to run the government. No, you cannot do that. It would be unfair, because Zanu Pf should be judged because they're the ones with executive powers.
Right. Now, good. Let's talk a bit, Senator, about your economic policy, right? As a political party, naturally you want to govern, and naturally you have a program of action that you would want to use to tackle the economy. We know, for example, the ruling Zanu Pf is at Zim Asset, is at several other NDP, Triple C at Restart. What's the fundamental economic policy or blueprint as MDC Tsvangirai would you want to propose to the people of Zimbabwe, and what is it based on, briefly?
I want to give you an answer that has never been given by many leaders. Blueprints don't help. How many blueprints has Zanu Pf produced since 1980? Help me. More than 8. Several blueprints. So blueprints don't work. So where is the problem? The problem lies on the governance structure in the governance system.
Right.
Mutuli produced the NDS 1, NDS 2, and many others that were produced prior to that. But nothing has ever changed. Economic gurus, professors, intellectuals with various experience have contributed to those blueprints. Some of the blueprints input have been hired from foreign countries to make the blueprint work, but it never produced a single improvement in our economy. So that's not the issue. A blueprint is so easy to get. It can be built up within a day's time, but it must ride on a governance system and a governance structure that is conducive to the people to come and invest in that particular country. That is attractive to the growth of the economy. That brings up an open environment for local and foreign investors to participate, to build on the economy. That's the governance structure. I've always said the MDC Tsvangirai would introduce what I call an Afrocentric system. An Afrocentric system is that system that is rooted within a black person in African culture, in African identity, in African originality. What is it that Zimbabwe today wants for it to have economic growth? It needs to consider an Afrocentric system, governance structure, which is a system which is embedded in African blood, an Afrocentric system. People would say, what is an Afrocentric system? African people work from the collective point of view. Right. Let me take you to the cell, or to the most smallest unity of an African governance system,
yes,
which you all know.
Yes.
In the valley, they call it Ilima.
Right.
In most of the Shona dialects, they call it Nimbe. What was the purpose of this system? Was to deal with the vulnerables. The vulnerables that we have today. By that time, the vulnerables were people that had no oxen to plow, we had the disabled, orphans, for an example. Those were some of the things. So the Afrocentric system would always be will always be implemented where if you had something that you did not have, the community will come and plow for you. They would come and like vakurimira vakukovera chikafu vokusiya wane chikafu chavo, which therefore means Africans had a system which was very foolproof to poverty. Now that we're in governance in the modern world, why can't we modernize that system and put it in the current context? I propose this, but I want to repeat it. The Afrocentric governance system is called the NIMBE in African context, but in English is the national, the government of national unity.
Right.
When we go for elections, we have fulfilled the dictates of the Constitution. We are not enemies. We all had an idea or an ambition to improve the economy. After the election, whoever wins that particular election should then call that opposition leader, that opposition leader, that opposition leader, and put together the ideas that they've been fighting for and move forward as a team. You abandon the political fights and focus on the economic growth, and the economy will grow. Isaac Newton, one of his law and motions of law, he said the way two forces of equal magnitude interact in opposite direction, there shall never be any motion. If you continue to push, they will crack and break and there will be disaster. Similarly, in the politics of our nations, if the opposition and the ruling party are of equal magnitude, if they interact in opposite direction, there shall be no economic motion. If you continue to fight, there will be conflict, there will be civil wars, and there will be abject poverty. That is why Africa from Cape to Cairo languishes in abject poverty, because we are missing the point of governance. So if Zimbabwe today wants to go over this political quagmire today, economic quagmire, it has to introduce a national government of national unity as a mandatory constitutional change. Is the amendment that I vehemently support, because it will bring us together. We'll have unity, we'll have peace, we'll have shared vision. These are three principles of a stable organization, whether at family level, political, church, governmental level. If a leader achieves unity, peace, and shared vision, the economy will grow, undoubtedly. So the MDC Tsvangirai is very clear on how we can resolve the economy of this country. The MDC Tsvangirai, if it takes over, it will definitely introduce what the Afrocentric system. And it will persuade the people of Zimbabwe to put this clause in the constitution, that no one should ever run a government from a single point, from a silos point of view. The current governance system that we are using in Zimbabwe and Africa at all is a Western-based system, which is basically a winner takes all, which is embedded in selfish issues. In African language, tinoiti mchiwano, tinoiti shaisano. You go to the election, you get 2 million votes. Someone gets 1.8 million. And you throw away the 1.8 million voice. That's stupid. You can't accept that. You can't, if you think the 1.8 million, those people were heavily represented and they must be considered in the governance. Not parliament, not council, in the cabinet. That's where the budget is shared. That's where the resources of the country are shared. Do not leave other people from the sharing of the resources. Otherwise, the blame will go on you. In Zimbabwe, in Africa here, we got a typical example of a country that accidentally used the concept that I'm talking about here. It's Rwanda. Forced by the 1994 genocide, the Rwanda people agreed to form a government of national unity permanently, and which is the cleanest city in Africa today, Kigali, because they understood the laws of Isaac Newton. Some of the people that have introduced accidentally is the Chinese. They are always guided by unity, peace, and shared vision, which is the biggest economy in the world.
It's almost,
cash flow.
Almost China.
Cash flow.
It's China.
China.
Cash flow is China, definitely.
Cash flow is China. The reserve, their reserve is more than $3 trillion United States dollars, because they don't waste time fighting among each other. So we need to develop an Afrocentric governance system. So MDC will not dwell much on particular policies, but particular policies are already there. We've got millions of the blueprints. We'll choose the best out of that, but we'll implement it on an Afrocentric governance system, government of unity, government of peace, government of shared vision, and we can make wonders.
So basically, the most important position is on the issue of governance and the systems of governance.
Those are the sources of poverty.
Right.
If you have the governance that are weak, the governance system that is weak, definitely there will be poverty. A strong governance system that caters for the interests of the people, that is inclusive in nature, would produce positive outcomes in the economic growth. Examples are, in 1980, when we came from the War of Liberation with the GNU, look at what happened. Go to the statistics. The economy bloomed like that. In 1987, after the Gukura Hunt, there was a mini GNU between ZAP and ZANU. Look at what happened in Matabele. The economy changed. The one that you know, the 2009 one. Yeah, Tsvangirai and coming from a waste economic decay of the world. No country in the world has ever experienced the loss of currency that we had, where everyone became a quintillaire and we had monies in our banks with zeros that were not counted. But when the government was introduced, within a few 3 months, people started feeling the changes. So evidence is there. Compelled by that, MDC Tsvangirai has said, that's the governance system that they're going to push. That's the governance system which they have in their documents. And I can assure the people of Zimbabwe, the MDC Tsvangirai will be the best government for economic development and growth.
But Senator, let's delve into the hottest topic of the moment, the issue of, and unfortunately, it's becoming a bit scary to address it, judging by our colleague Blessed Mhlanga, who is currently in jail. So it becomes a very, very tricky issue for us as journalists, but nonetheless, we have to navigate around it. The issue of the proposed term extension for the president by the ruling Zanu Pf, or at least sections of Zanu Pf. It seems the other sections of the party are not really for the idea, but the idea that the president has done so well, and so the constitution has to be amended to accommodate extending his term so he continues to fulfill his vision, as they put it. What is your position as Senator Komichi and as MDC Tsvangirai on this issue?
Our position as MDC Tsvangirai, as was represented by me as the interim president, is we totally object and reject any extension of Mnangagwa to 2030. As well, we totally object and reject any attempt to mutilate our national constitution. I'm actually moving with it. This is a sacrosanct document which cannot be tampered with, and we don't want anyone in Zimbabwe to change it unnecessarily. In terms of Mnangagwa has done well, so his term must be improved. It's a fallacy. Go in the locations, go in Bari, check your pockets, check my pockets. If you can find $1, you can take it. So the economy is growing in the minds of the elites, but in the minds of the ordinary Zimbabwean, the economy is decaying. As outlined before, I said, look at the hospitals, look at our currency, look at our roads, look at our salaries that we are getting. Right now, look at what a soldier earns, a policeman earns, a CIO earns, a civil servant earns. $250 plus a few zigs. And you cannot make life ends and meet out the life requirements. So there's no justification whatsoever for Emmerson Mnangagwa to propose or to think or to dream about extending term limit, because there's nothing worth talking about right now for him to get that time. he should actually put effort to defend himself, to make sure that he goes to 2028 and he lives for somebody to take over. So as MDC Tsvangirai, we don't agree to that. We don't accept that. We say Mnangagwa should pack your bags and go. 2028 is coming, and let the people of Zimbabwe go for an election and elect a new leader. We actually ready as MDC Tsvangirai to take over and provide a solution for the Zimbabweans. We've got a better policy, better solution, better strategy to make sure that this country can actually have economic growth and development than what you guys have done for the last 46 years. So we don't want anything to do with 2030. Mnangagwa, please don't do it. In terms of being indispensable, we do not to go that. No one is indispensable. Even within Zanu Pf ranks itself, they can elect another replacement and another leader to take over Zanu, so that that person can go to election 28, so that we strictly respect the 2 terms that are in the constitution. This constitution came after a major struggle in this country. The opposition people fought Zanu Pf for them to accept to the new constitution. Many people perished and died in Zimbabwe during the opposition struggle led by Baba Tsvangirai to achieve this constitution. I remember when we went for democratic resistance in 2008, one of our key principles was the establishment of the new constitution of Zimbabwe, which will be followed by free and fair elections. And according to us, we achieved this document. And you cannot let this document tampered with. What we want actually to fight for right now is its implementation to the fullest, not its mutilation. We want this one to make sure that this constitution is fully implemented. This is what we want to do, other than changing the key clauses of our constitution. We cannot accept that. So we are on the side of the people that are defending the constitution. We are on the side of the voices that are defending the constitution. So stand by the people who are defending the constitution of Zimbabwe.
As we wrap up, Senator, I want you to speak 3 words to 3 different groups of people. So the first one would be, okay, before I go into those, I would ask you to make a comment on the issue of the harassment of journalists. Currently, our colleague, President Langa, is in jail. He's been jailed because there are allegations that he broadcasted data messages that may be prejudicial to the state. Please, may you comment on that?
That is actually, those are actually the symbol. Those are the signs in the character of an autocratic state. An autocratic state uses the law as well to suppress the people's rights. So what Mnangagwa and his government are actually demonstrating right now is an autocratic state which is using the law through its police to suppress the voice of the Zimbabweans. Freedom of media, freedom of speech, freedom of expression are fundamental values, fundamental rights of our constitution, as enshrined in section 61 and 62. Fundamental rights, chapter 4, which must not be tampered with by anyone. We fought for these rights to be established. Zanu Pf during Mugabe's time did not want us to express ourselves. And we fought for them and they enshrined in the constitution. So we will be shocked when the current regime under Mnangagwa is again abusing the very values that we fought for. So Blessing Mhlanga is not at all fault. I looked in the constitution and see whether Blessing committed a crime. Blessing Mhlanga did not incite violence. He didn't incite any violence. Blessing Mhlanga did not advocate for hatred or hate speech. Blessing Mhlanga did not even had malicious injury to any person. Blessing Mhlanga did not have any unwarranted breach of person's right to privacy. Blessing Mhlanga simply presented a media platform for Blessing is that to express his feelings. Let's not make a mistake. A president is not a person. A president is the people's person.
Institution.
It's an institution. who acquired that position through an election. What is an election? Election is a collective agreement of the people of Zimbabwe to abdicate their authority, their responsibility, and accountability on one person who happens to be President Mnangagwa. And the Constitution section 88 says it draws authority from the people and exercises that authority through the cabinet and the Constitution of Zimbabwe. So the president we can say anything about the president because we agreed as the people of Zimbabwe for him to be responsible and accountable of our individual projects. That's an election. Otherwise, if there was no election, everyone would have his own hospital. Everyone will have his own ZESA. Everyone will have his own road. Everyone will have his own Zinara. Everyone will have his own. So the nation, the world will be so unorganized. So when we then abdicate our responsibilities to build a hospital for me, to build a road for me, to build a school for me, I was supposed to have built my own school for my own child, but we had to agree to give Mnangagwa that responsibility, which therefore means if Mnangagwa fails to meet the expectations of the people, we must hold Mnangagwa accountable by criticizing him openly, by organizing peaceful demonstrations so that Mnangagwa wakone wachipa. For the people of Zimbabwe, we want our freedom, we want our peace, we don't want to be disturbed. And this is what I believe the people of Zimbabwe must be ready to do. Let us prepare to die, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, if we don't die, even Mnangagwa wakambofa one. Mnangagwa wakaposa our poor descendants because he was fighting for change, was fighting for freedom, was fighting for independence. It was saved by God. So many Zanu forces and Zipra forces perished in Mozambique, in Zambia, and Zimbabwe, fighting for freedom. Many women were raped, children died, buildings were burnt, homes were burnt all over. Kunana Mreo, Kunana Mtogo, Kunana Mike Central, fighting for freedom. Who are we not to die for that if there's no freedom? But we fought for this constitution. It came through blood as well. People suffered. People were tortured to acquire this document. So this document cannot be tampered with. Let us enjoy whatever is written in this document. Kana ndaita demonstration ndikandopisa building yomunhu mapurisa ngaandisunge. Kana ndaita demonstration ndikabaya mino mumino ndichimupokola mumino make mapurisa ngaandisunge. But if I demonstrate peacefully, express my views and express my feelings about Mnangagwa and about his government, that is enshrined in this constitution.
And your word to members of the opposition, your colleagues, going forward.
I want to advise and call upon the members of the opposition, wherever you are today. Ladies and gentlemen, let us coalesce. Let us unite. Let us set up an agreed platform, which I want to propose. You can change the name you so want, the Mass Democratic Movement, so that we can use that platform to represent the people of Zimbabwe, to confront Zanu Pf right now, to deal with issues that are of national nature together. That's what I believe the opposition movement should do. And I know certain groups of opposition movement have had certain personal challenges. Let's forgive each other. Let's shake hands. Let's drink tea together. Let's drink beer together. Let's eat together. As I stand right now as Morgan Komichi, I want to reconcile with all of you, so that we can work together for the good of Zimbabwe.
Your message to the people of Zimbabwe, finally.
The people of Zimbabwe, I want you to defend your constitution, defend your rights. You did not get those rights on a silver platter. You fought for them. And as far back as the Mbuyane under struggle, the first Murenga, through to the second Chimurenga of General Tungogara and the team, to the third Chimurenga of MDC Tsvangirai and the team, you finally got the People's Constitution. And it is sacrosanct. No one who shall come after this Constitution was signed, who shall violate the Bill of Rights, who shall violate our rights, we will not allow that. So people of Zimbabwe, stand up in your masses, talk about it, express yourself. We are allowed by the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Section 59, to organize demonstrations in every part of Zimbabwe in defense of our Constitution. We must be ready to do that. We must organize demonstrations peacefully, though. We don't want to break anyone's property. We don't want to injure individuals. We don't want to injure people's companies. We don't want to do that. But we want people of Zimbabwe to organize themselves into a united front to challenge the current government, to challenge the current president to be responsible and accountable on issues that we voted him in power. If he can't do it, he must prepare to leave.
As you heard from the senator right there, us as media, we are simply here to give a platform to Zimbabweans from all walks of life. We have no intention to commit crimes by simply giving a platform, be it ruling party, be it opposition, be it independents or anyone. Again, I emphasize there has been no incitement of violence in this recording. It's more than an hour long. There has been no incitement of any form at all. We put this as a caveat just to perhaps protect ourselves from possibility of persecution by simply giving a platform to an opposition player. So our clarion call is that please do not persecute us as the media. We are not criminals. Journalism is not a crime. Allow us to do our jobs. In Zimbabwe, we thank you for watching and we thank you for tuning in. May you please continue to tune in. We will see you on the next program. And Senator Komichi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. The people of Zimbabwe, thank you so much for listening. Let's all unite and stop this country from sliding into an autocratic state. We must defend it with our blood and our life.
Thank you.